Do you have a bunch of ITSM processes that may be outdated or not just hitting the mark? Have you been putting off any improvement or refresh of these processes? Undertaking a process improvement or process remapping exercise can seem overwhelming. But in this video, I'm going to show you 5 basic steps for you to be able to use to be able to start that process and get more from your ITSM processes. And I'm going to explain this to you in less than 5 minutes. If we're just meeting for the first time, my name's Kirk Penn. I'm the Principal Advisory Consultant at Service Management Specialists. We're on a mission to help you to get more from your ITSM improvement initiatives, projects and programs. We understand that IT service management can be complex at times. We've spent the last 15 years helping organisations to uplift and improve and refresh the ITSM processes, capabilities, typically as part of broader digital transformation and initiatives. So in this short video, I'm excited to share with you some of our learnings around the basics around process mapping to help you to get started with your improvements and get yourself underway. So let's get started. So what is process mapping? Really, it's the process of documenting the flow of what actually happens, typically used to map the flow of work as it moves through activities, teams, or automation. But why is process mapping important? Well, it ensures that assets are accurate, they're scalable, consistent, and everyone's using the same method. It provides education and training, and also helps with audit and compliance. These are just a few things to be able to consider. Steps to success. If you've always done what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And this is really important to ensure that at least we understand why we're doing a process improvement. Now, in terms of the first step, what we want to be able to use for mapping the basics for beginners is use good practice process blocks as a backdrop. So let's use this as an example within change management, key phases or blocks for the process. So what we want to be able to do is to actually use this to start our process mapping. Understand how you're currently carrying out those process blocks. As an example, if you've got stakeholders in a room, what you want to be able to do is use those blocks and then facilitate the opportunity to understand what actually goes on within each of those blocks. What do we currently do within each of these process blocks? So for example, we want to be able to capture that, record it, discuss it, and then also what we also suggest here is that it's recorded and then placed underneath each of the blocks. So a great way to be able to do that is to put the blocks on the wall and be able to capture those as post-it notes in terms of the workflow. Move through each of those blocks, understanding what you currently do within that current state. And by the end of this exercise or this workshop, you'll have an understanding of exactly what you do within each of those blocks. And it's fine to think that perhaps sometimes you actually won't actually have you may not have capability. So you may not have capability here. But capture what you've got in the current state. It's really, really important. Alright, number 3, understand what good practice defines for each process block. So what do we mean by that? Well, within each process block, we know that good practice and defines specific aspects that you must do within each one. So what does good practice define or suggest for each block? Let's have a look at an example around raising change. So from a good practice perspective, we know that there's a type, there's a category, there's impacted CIs. Here's a whole list here of good practice suggestions that you want to be able to consider when you're raising a change. Number 4, compare good practice with the current way you're carrying out process. So again, let's have a look at raising a change, and let's have a look at the feedback in which you've received as part of that initial current state workshop. Now, where there's gaps, the delta is your process improvement list. So here we go. So you're actually starting to list out now where you may or may not have capability, and that becomes your uplift and your improvement list. So a recap on the 5 basic steps for mapping your ITSM processes in alignment with good practice. Number 1, use good practice process blocks as a backdrop. Number 2, understand what you're currently carrying out within each of those process blocks. Number 3, understand what good practice defines each of those process blocks. And number 4, compare good practice with your current way of carrying out the process. And then finally, the delta between what you're currently doing and what good practice is suggesting is your improvement list. Are you looking to crush your ITSM improvement goals within the next year? We've developed a simple online assessment that will help you to identify areas where focus and improvement is needed. It's free, it's online, and it only takes a few moments to complete. At the end of the assessment, you'll receive your own customized Modern Service Management Capability Indicator Report. So go to servicemanagementspecialist.com/MSM to take your online assessment and receive your free Modern Service Management Capability Indicator Report.